Hello there and welcome to the basement of Television Centre. Now, believe it or not, they actually do tours around this building. However, they never come down here. Strange that, isn't it? I'm not too sure what this line is up here. It's almost like the BFG has sneezed along the wall. Interesting. Anyway, the reason why we're here in this room particularly, B609, the BBC Photographic Studio, is because today the three amigos, myself, David and Eddie, are having photos done for the new Formula One season. And I think they're in here now. That's right, so the bit of flashing going on in a camera photo kind of way. Eddie's on the phone, probably doing some kind of deal as ever. This is James here on the left, who works with David. Behind him, Rebecca, our production manager, and Mark, the boss. And here is David having photos done. And Eddie, where are you going? What's happening here? This is just a little video for the start of the new F1 season. We thought we'd dive in there and have a chat about 2012. What do you think?
What do you think?
Yeah, we'll go in and grab him and have a chat. Come on over here. Lovely. Surely. He's been having his photos taken for about an hour and a half. Is that not enough?
No, the camera. He is bordering on the vain side of things, don't you? Or pain. Which?
Well,
vain
the
or
thing
pain?
is, they can do a shot without having to retouch mine. They're working extensively on the computer.
I'm trying to figure out how you get rid of all these lines, but you haven't got to that age of your life yet.
Are they worry lines? What are you going to say next?
Well, we should have those.
Yeah. Over the last 3 years, by Jake and DC, these lines, see, these very deep ones.
The pressure.
It's the pressure of BBC F1. The big
Anxiety
breaking news
is a word I use.
Big breaking news, of course, ahead of the new F1 season is that Eddie's planning on wearing a bead in his beard, which we're going to work very hard to make sure doesn't happen by the time we get to Australia.
Do you think your people on Twitter should be put to the task of giving their opinion?
Okay.
Because I don't do Twitter.
I'll
Could you request bead or no bead?
I will do exactly that. Talking of Twitter, David is now officially on there,
Yeah.
and your username is?
The real DC.
F1.
The real deal.
The real DC F1. I don't know.
He's fully across what's happening on his Twitter.
He's very well informed.
The real DC F1.
Yeah.
And I will be updating you on all the hot news regarding Formula One.
And your Twitter password is?
I've got absolutely no idea.
He's very well informed, our DC.
He is.
It comes absolutely every particular race that we have, he knows the inside track of nothing.
And he will now be sharing that nothing with you daily through his Twitter updates. Right, now come on, let's talk about the new Formula One season. First of all, what excites you about F1 in 2012, Eddie?
Well, more of the same, I hope, because really we were spoilt last year and perhaps the year before. 2 very exciting seasons, although the championship was over. Everything changed. I mean, it was really an exciting time for me. I loved the way Vettel controlled himself. I liked the way that he moved on from the previous year. And I liked the reliability of the cars. I thought the races were very exciting, very good races. For me, the classic race that I've ever watched was Canada last year. Jensen was just a new man, really, recreated, reincarnated.
DZ?
Well,
What is there left to say?
what is there left to say? What I'm excited about is new cars, new technology.
Yeah.
They don't have the blown diffusers. They have an interesting take on the new regulations with the low nose.
Ugly now, isn't it?
Well, you say that. You say
It looks
that. Is
like,
it ugly?
It looks like the Ferraris designed on the Fiat Multipla. I mean, it's not, you know, you're not thinking,
These are the launch
wow.
cars. These are the launch cars, and
For
they
people,
will
because
not.
most people don't know
Sure.
what that Fiat you're talking about, because thankfully it never came to Britain. Well, it
There you
shouldn't
go.
have.
These cars will change a lot between now
Yeah.
and the start of the season, and all of the teams will launch them with last year's front wings hanging off them and all those bits and pieces because they want to hide as much as they can for as long as they can. But there's some interesting takes on how to use this new low front nose. I'm sure the FIA will change the regulations going forward to basically it's just a complete loophole, isn't it? You know, do a really long thin nose and then you come up and join the chassis. But if we think back to the race where there was no blown diffusers last year, Silverstone, Ferrari won that race. It was a bit of a, good battles going on down the field. So maybe we'll see a shake-up in the performance. You know, Red Bull, of course, will be trying to do the hat-trick. McLaren will be trying to build on what they're very strong into the year. Ferrari have to be back. They had a pretty lean year with only 1 victory. And Mercedes, of course.
Yeah.
You know, it's time to actually deliver.
What I'd like to know from David and from you, do you think at Silverstone, do you think that race was given to Ferrari, as some people seem to believe?
No, that's just an urban myth about Formula. I think people love to think that there are things going on in Formula One that aren't actually going on.
But that's part of the mystique, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's part of the fun and part of the drama. I think probably a more important question with regards to the changes in regulation.
Thanks for that, Jake. I knew you'd say something like that.
Is what's going on with McLaren and the fact that they're the only team at the moment to have launched without a step on their nose. Does that mean they've taken a different design philosophy.
No.
Does it mean the regs have played into their hands so they can keep the current philosophy and it still works with them? Or will they look at what Adrian Newey has done and Ross Brawn and go, quick change of plan, let's change
What
that
you
now?
see on all those cars?
They can change it easily because it's basically the connecting point between the chassis and the nose.
Yeah.
If you look, everyone has taken that point and then done the profile nose. So they could put any shape of nose on these cars pretty much they want. You know, the front wing is more important than the nose.
Do you expect them to do that at McLaren?
I don't think they'll copy just for the sake of it. They'll only do it if it gives them performance. So it's a styling decision and a centre of gravity decision rather than something else. But you know, what actually is the difference in height between their chassis and Red Bull, for instance?
They will nevertheless back-to-back it, and they will have back-to-backed it already in the wind tunnel.
Explain what you mean by back-to-backed it.
Well, they will put one car in exactly identical to the other, and then they will swap one nose to the other, and they'll have all the feedback, and they'll have the twist and the curve, and all the different parameters that a wind tunnel can do. Yaw and how the car penetrates the air in different things, not just a straight line, but also in cornering and damping and all sorts of different things. And there will be a very accurate piece of technology there that will prove one thing or the other. That doesn't mean it's right, because when a car goes on the track, they take different positions.
Sure. David's already mentioned the teams chasing Red Bull. How much pressure is there this year on Ferrari, who've already launched their car and said that Felipe Massa has to improve his form and drive better than he has before? Mercedes, who we know are in Formula 1 to help them sell road cars. McLaren haven't won a constructors' title since '98. How ferocious is that battle going to be at the front?
Very ferocious in every way, because, you know, they've got to topple Adrian Newey and Red Bull, haven't they? And who's going to stand up and say that somebody in that group you've just mentioned is going to do that? I certainly wouldn't, because I'm not sure how any team is going to tackle the knowledge, the information. You know, you've got Mark and you've got Sebastian, two absolutely great drivers. They're working well together. The team is a very solid structure. They're not desperately employing new people. They're not desperately trying to bring something new into the program. They know what they've got, and it's going to take an almighty effort for any of the protagonists other than Red Bull to catch it.
Okay, before we wrap this up, because I know you've got many hours of photos to have, let's just run through a few quick-fire questions. James Key leaving Sauber a few weeks before the start of the season. How much of a problem is that for the team? Where's he going? What's going on there?
James Key, ex-Jordan guy. I think he'll wind up in Williams or Marussia or somewhere like that. Don't see him going back to Force India. That doesn't look on the cards. I think Williams, I like James. I think he's done a really, really good job, and Williams would be a nice home for him.
Okay, strange timing, I suppose. In terms of the new cars and the look, your old team, Red Bull, a lot of talk about this little inlet just above the step, or just on the step. What is that about? Is it a cooling issue? Is it a way of blowing air through the car? Do you have any I
think potentially it's all of those things, and it'll be part of the game for the other teams to try and work out exactly how they're utilising that gap. If it is a tool that enables them to do something else clever downstream, then that'll be quite tricky for them to copy. It's not like you can just copy a front profile of a wing, put it in manufacture and put it on the car. When it's actually an integral part of the chassis, then that's a long lead time item to make.
Sure. Okay, and finally, 6 world champions on the grid. It's going to be an exciting season, isn't it?
It is. I'm looking forward to seeing Raikkonen. Yeah. He's young enough. He's sorted himself out. I think. I don't suppose he'll be giving us any long interviews, giving it. And another joke I'm going to tell you. But I think he's fast, and it'll be exciting for the Lotus team. Michael got a little bit closer last year to Nico. Still needs to pick up his qualifying, but his race pace was good. And then all of those other quality world champions that have been in Formula 1 without a break.
Okay, and a few new faces as well. And this is a sign of the shirts to come. We're going to go just as mad this year. Is that the plan?
All to be revealed in due course.
Okay, and let's just hope we don't see a bead hanging off that chin at any point. But I hope that you enjoyed that. Just to remind you, 10 live races on the BBC this year, including the British Grand Prix, the last race of the season, and Monaco, and for all the others, extended highlights, plenty of analysis, and we've got a rather tasty little tool for David to get right in there and talk about the racing. Thank you both very much. We'll have some photos. If you want to turn around, maybe Pookie, we can get a nice photo of you as well. Just as he check. There you go. This is for all of you guys watching online. This is your photo, your press photo for the 2012 F1 season. Smile!